The Phantom Signal. The bridge of the Zephyrian battlecruiser Eternal Dominion hummed with the familiar sounds of deep space patrol. Admiral Keth Zorvac stood with his 4 arms crossed behind his back, his crystalline blue skin reflecting the soft glow of the command displays. His species had ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 2 centuries, maintaining peace through strength and wisdom gained from countless conflicts. Lieutenant Eurakes, her tentacle-like appendages dancing across the communications console, suddenly stiffened. The young officer's bioluminescent patches flickered in patterns that Zorvac had learned to recognize as confusion mixed with fear. "Admiral," she called out, her voice carrying the harmonic undertones typical of her aquatic species. "I'm detecting unusual signals from grid section 7 Alpha Niner." Zorvac's primary eyes focused on her, while his secondary pair continued monitoring the tactical display. "Define unusual, Lieutenant." "The transmissions are coming from the Sol system." "Sir." She paused, double-checking her readings. "But that's impossible. The humans went silent 43 years ago. Our long-range scouts confirmed the system was completely dead." A chill ran through the Admiral's spine, though he showed no outward sign of concern. The Sol system had been a minor curiosity in galactic politics. Humanity had been a young species, barely capable of interstellar travel, when they suddenly stopped all communications with the outside galaxy. Exploration missions sent to investigate found empty planets, abandoned space stations, and no trace of the 12 billion humans who had once called the system home. "Bring up the historical files," Zorvac ordered. "Refresh my memory on the human situation." The main view screen flickered to life, displaying archived footage of Earth as it had been during first contact 57 years ago. A blue-green marble covered in swirling white clouds, teeming with life and potential. The humans had been enthusiastic about joining the galactic community, eager to learn and share their unique perspectives. Official records show they were classified as developmental species. Tier 3, Tess reported. They had achieved basic fusion power and crewed faster than light travel. Their technology was primitive but showed promise. Then, 43 years ago, complete radio silence. No distress calls, no final transmissions, nothing. Zorvac remembered the debates in the Galactic Council chambers. Some species had wanted to investigate immediately, concerned that the humans might have fallen victim to some unknown threat. Others argued that young species sometimes destroyed themselves through war or environmental collapse, and interference would violate the non-intervention protocols. "Sir," Tess continued, her bioluminescent patches now pulsing with urgent amber light, "these new signals aren't random. They're highly structured, mathematical in nature. And Admiral, they're incredibly powerful. The transmission strength suggests technology far beyond what humans possessed during their last known contact." "That's impossible," muttered Commander Thex from the tactical station. His reptilian features showed skepticism as his forked tongue tasted the air. "We surveyed that system thoroughly. The planets were barren. The stations were dark. Where could they be transmitting from?" Zorvac made his decision. "Set course for the Sol system. Maximum sustainable speed. And send a priority message to Fleet Command. Tell them we're investigating potential first contact protocols with unknown entities." The journey to Sol took 18 standard hours. As they approached the outer edge of the system, what they found defied all explanation. Where the probe reports had described empty space and dead worlds, massive structures now floated in perfect formation around the system's star. These weren't the crude metal constructions typical of early spacefaring civilizations. The structures appeared to be grown rather than built, with organic curves that seemed to pulse with internal light. They ranged in size from city-sized platforms to continent-spanning rings that caught and redirected the star's energy. "Scanning now," reported Science Officer Veltar, her insectoid compound eyes reflecting the display lights. "Admiral, these structures are generating energy readings that should be physically impossible. The power output exceeds our most advanced fusion reactors by several orders of magnitude." "Life signs?" Zorvac asked, though he wasn't sure what to expect. "That's where it gets strange, sir. I'm detecting billions of individual consciousness patterns, but they're all somehow interconnected. It's like each mind is part of a larger collective intelligence." Before Zorvac could respond, every screen on the bridge flickered simultaneously. When the displays cleared, they showed the face of a human male, though he looked different from the archived footage. His features were sharper, more refined, and his eyes held a depth of knowledge that seemed almost infinite. "Greetings, Admiral Zorvac of the Zephyrian Confederation," the human said, his voice carrying harmonics that resonated directly in their minds rather than through their ears. "I am Dr. Melvin Cross, speaking on behalf of the human collective. We've been expecting you." The bridge fell silent. Zorvac's forearms unconsciously moved to defensive positions before he forced himself to remain calm. "Dr. Cross, according to our records, humanity disappeared from this system over 4 decades ago. Our surveys found no trace of your species." Cross smiled, an expression that was both familiar and somehow alien. "We didn't disappear, Admiral. We evolved. What your surveys detected was accurate. There are no longer any humans as you once knew them. We have become something new." "Explain," Zorvac demanded, though he kept his voice respectful. Something about this human's presence suggested vast power held in careful check. 43 years ago, our species faced a choice," Cross continued. "We could continue developing along traditional paths, building bigger ships and more powerful weapons, expanding across the galaxy as individual worlds and nations, or we could try something unprecedented." The view screen split, showing images of Earth's transformation. The planet itself had been restructured, its continents reshaped into perfect geometric patterns that served as massive processors for some incomprehensible technology. "We chose unity," Cross explained. "Not just political unity, but consciousness unity. Every human mind became part of a collective intelligence while retaining individual identity. We transcended the limitations of biological evolution and became something the galaxy has never seen before." Commander Thex hissed softly, his species' expression of disbelief. "You're claiming 12 billion humans willingly gave up their individuality." "We gave up nothing," Cross replied patiently. "We gained everything. Watch." The space around the Eternal Dominion suddenly filled with impossible geometry. Stars bent their light into spirals, space itself seemed to fold and twist, and gravity waves that should have torn the ship apart instead created beautiful patterns of force that gently nudged them toward one of the human constructs. "Your technology operates within the known laws of physics," Cross observed. "Ours rewrites those laws. We don't just use energy. We convince matter that it wants to become energy. We don't travel through space. We persuade space to rearrange itself around us." Zorvac's tactical training screamed warnings, but his scientific curiosity was stronger. How is any of this possible? When 12 billion minds work in perfect harmony, when every thought and dream and breakthrough is instantly shared across the entire species, progress accelerates beyond all prediction, Cross answered. "We've had 43 years to develop without the limitations of competition, politics, or resource scarcity. Every human is now capable of feats that would have seemed like magic to our ancestors." The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. If humans had truly achieved this level of technological advancement, they could reshape the galaxy according to their will. The balance of power that had maintained peace for centuries was suddenly, terrifyingly obsolete. "What do you want from us?" Zorvac asked directly. Cross's expression became serious, almost sad. "We've been watching the galaxy, Admiral. We've seen the wars, the suffering, the species that destroy themselves before they can reach their potential. We've seen civilizations rise and fall while we've been transforming ourselves. And we've decided it's time to offer a choice to the rest of the galaxy. The same choice we faced 43 years ago." Cross leaned forward slightly, and somehow his presence seemed to fill the entire bridge. "You can continue as you are, fighting over resources and territory. limited by the constraints of individual consciousness and primitive technology. Zorvac felt his blood chill. Or you can join us. We can show every species in the galaxy how to transcend their limitations, how to become more than the sum of their parts. We can end scarcity, eliminate disease. Even death itself becomes optional when consciousness can exist independently of biological form. The implications were staggering. Cross was essentially offering to transform every species in the galaxy into something like themselves. It was the ultimate form of contact, not just first contact, but final contact, the end of separate civilizations, and the beginning of something entirely new. And if we refuse? Zorvac asked, though he dreaded the answer. Cross's smile returned, but it was sadder now. Then you continue as you are. But Admiral, we won't stand by and watch civilizations destroy themselves when we have the power to save them. In 72 standard hours, we will begin broadcasting the Transcendence protocols to every inhabited world in the galaxy. You're forcing evolution on us, Thex snarled. We're offering it, Cross corrected gently. But yes, we're making sure everyone gets the chance to choose. The galaxy is about to change, Admiral. The only question is whether that change comes through cooperation or necessity. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Zorvac stared at the massive human constructs visible through the viewports, structures that could probably dismantle his entire fleet without effort. Lieutenant Kess, he said finally, his voice hoarse, send an emergency transmission to the Galactic Council. Tell them we need an immediate session. Full emergency protocols. What should I tell them the emergency is, sir? Zorvac looked one more time at the impossible architecture surrounding them, technology that made their most advanced systems look like stone tools. Tell them that humanity has returned, he said quietly, and they're not asking for permission anymore. The Awakening Protocol. The Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime had never seen such chaos. Representatives from over 300 species filled the amphitheater-like structure, their voices creating a cacophony of languages, harmonics, and telepathic emanations that the translation systems struggled to process. Councillor Vex Thrain, his massive crystalline form serving as both the session's moderator and its anchor of stability, raised all 6 of his arms for silence. Order. His voice boomed through both audible and telepathic channels. We will have order in this chamber. The chaos gradually subsided as Admiral Zorvac stepped forward to the central speaking platform. His report from the Sol system had reached the Council just 18 hours ago, and emergency sessions had been called across every major government in the galaxy. Admiral Zorvac. Councillor Thrain addressed him formally. Please repeat your findings for the full Council. Zorvac activated the central holographic display, showing the impossible structures he had witnessed around Earth's star. Gasps and exclamations echoed through the chamber as the footage played. The humans did not die out as we believed, Zorvac began, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. They evolved into something unprecedented. They claim to have achieved collective consciousness while maintaining individual identity, and their technology appears to operate beyond our understanding of physical laws. Representative Crix of the Mantari hive mind clicked his mandibles dismissively. Impossible. Our species achieved collective consciousness millennia ago, and we know its limitations. No collective can manipulate space-time itself. With respect, Representative Crix, Zorvac replied, your hive mind connects perhaps 1 billion individuals. The humans claim 12 billion minds working in perfect unity, with 43 years of uninterrupted development. The chamber erupted again. Some species declared it a threat that needed immediate military response. Others argued for diplomatic engagement. The youngest civilizations whispered among themselves about the opportunity this might represent. There's more, Zorvac continued, waiting for quiet. They're not content to remain isolated. In less than 50 hours now, they plan to broadcast what they call Transcendence protocols to every inhabited world in the galaxy. An invasion, hissed Representative Velfok of the Serpentine Alliance. They mean to assimilate us all. Before anyone could respond, every display screen in the council chambers flickered simultaneously. The face that appeared was different from Dr. Cross. This was a human female with silver hair and eyes that seemed to hold starlight. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice carrying the same impossible harmonics they'd heard before. "I am Sarah Chen, speaking for the human collective. We apologize for interrupting your deliberations, but there are misconceptions we must address." Councillor Thrane's crystalline structure blazed with indignant light. "This is a violation of Council sovereignty. How are you accessing our secure communications?" Sarah's expression remained patient. "Councillor Thrane, your security systems were designed to keep out technology that operates within conventional physics. We've moved beyond such limitations, but please understand, we're not here to threaten or dominate." "Then explain your ultimatum," demanded Representative Crix. "There is no ultimatum," Sarah replied gently. "There is an offer, freely given. For 43 years, we've watched civilizations across the galaxy struggle with problems we solved decades ago. Wars fought over resources that could be abundant. Species dying from diseases we could cure with a thought. Worlds poisoned by industrial development when clean energy is simple to achieve. The main display change, showing images from across the galaxy. But these weren't scenes of conflict or destruction. They were images of healing. Dead worlds suddenly blooming with life. Diseased populations mysteriously recovering. Failed colonies somehow thriving again. We've been helping," Sarah continued, quietly, carefully, without taking credit or demanding recognition. "The Great Plague that nearly destroyed the Centauri Republic 12 years ago. We provided the cure through untraceable channels. The ecological collapse on Kepler 442 bits that threatened 30 billion lives. We seeded the atmosphere with self-replicating repair organisms." Stunned silence filled the chamber. These were real events, disasters that had been mysteriously resolved just when all hope seemed lost. Representative Eula of the Pacifist Coalition leaned forward, her ethereal form shimmering with curiosity. "Why? Why help us without revealing yourselves?" "Because we remember being where you are now," Sarah answered. "Young, struggling, making the same mistakes every developing civilization makes. We remember the fear, the competition for limited resources, the desperation that drives species to war." Another human voice joined the transmission. This one belonged to a man with the bearing of a military commander. "I'm Captain Rex Morgan. 44 years ago, I was preparing for humanity's first interstellar war. We had detected what we thought were hostile alien signals, and every nation on Earth was building weapons to defend against invasion." The display showed archived footage from humanity's final years before transcendence, cities under construction of massive defensive installations, space-based weapons platforms, millions of humans preparing for a conflict that never came. "We were days away from launching a preemptive strike against what we now know was a peaceful scientific expedition," Morgan continued. "Fear almost made us into the very monsters we thought we were fighting against." "What stopped you?" asked Councillor Thrane. "A choice," Sarah replied. "Our greatest minds came together and asked a simple question. What if we used all that energy, all that resources, all that desperate creativity not to build weapons, but to build something better?" The displays changed again, showing the early stages of humanity's transformation. Not the conquest or domination many species expected, but willing cooperation on a scale never before achieved. Humans working together to solve fundamental problems of consciousness, physics, and existence itself. The transcendence wasn't forced on anyone, Morgan explained. Every human chose it freely, understanding exactly what it meant. We gave up nothing and gained everything. Representative Velthok's serpentine form coiled with suspicion. "And now you want to do the same to us." "We want to offer you the same choice we had," Sarah corrected. "The protocols we'll be broadcasting aren't commands or invasive programs. They're information, instructions on how any species can achieve what we achieved. if they choose to. Dr. Cross's image joined the others on the display. Think of it as the ultimate form of open-source development. We're sharing everything we've learned, every breakthrough we've made, every solution we've discovered. What each species does with that information is entirely up to them. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy. This wasn't conquest in any traditional sense, but it was certainly the end of the galaxy as they knew it. Some species will choose transcendence, Sarah acknowledged. Others will use the information to improve their existing societies without fundamentally changing them. Some might reject it entirely, and that's their right. But why now? Asked Representative Eula. Why reveal yourselves after all this time? The three humans exchanged looks that somehow conveyed volumes of shared understanding. Because time is running out, Dr. Cross said solemnly. We've identified 17 species currently on the verge of self-destruction. 3 more face extinction from environmental collapse within the next decade. The Andromeda conflict is escalating toward galactic war that could destroy hundreds of civilizations. You're saying you're intervening to save us from ourselves, Counselor Thrain observed. We're saying we're offering you the tools to save yourselves, Captain Morgan corrected. What you do with those tools is your choice. Admiral Zorvak, who had been listening intently, finally spoke up. What happens to those who choose not to change? What happens to traditional civilizations in a galaxy where others have transcended physical limitations? Sarah's expression became infinitely compassionate. They continue to exist, protected and respected. Transcendence doesn't make us superior. It makes us different. A parent isn't superior to their child, but they do have a responsibility to protect and nurture. You're positioning yourselves as guardians of the galaxy, Representative Crix observed. We're accepting the responsibility that comes with our capabilities, Dr. Cross replied simply. With great power comes great responsibility, as one of our ancient philosophers wrote. The transmission began to fade, but Sarah's voice remained clear. The protocols will begin broadcasting in 37 hours. Each species will receive information tailored to their specific biology and consciousness structure. No one will be forced to use it, but everyone will have the choice. What if we try to stop you? Velthok hissed. The 3 humans smiled with genuine sadness. With respect, Representative Velthok, you cannot stop us any more than you can stop a star from shining. But you don't need to fear us. We were you once. We remember what it's like to be afraid of the unknown. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in absolute silence. Finally, Counselor Thrain spoke. Motion to call for a galaxy-wide referendum on response to the human protocols. Seconded, came voices from dozens of representatives. But even as they began the formal procedures for galactic democracy, everyone in the chamber knew the truth. The age of separated civilizations was ending. What would replace it remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. The galaxy was about to discover what humanity truly meant when they said they had evolved. In the void between stars, massive human constructs began moving into position around every inhabited system in the galaxy. Not as conquerors, but as gardeners preparing to tend a cosmic garden that was about to bloom in ways no one could have imagined. The age of transcendence was about to begin.